Cool. All right. We are live. Cool. Thanks everybody for hopping on. This is Dan Reecer from the Acala and Karura team. I'm joined by Bette Chen, one of our co-founders. And then we're also joined here by Terry, who is one of the co-founders of the Taiga Protocol and soon to be Tapio on Acala, Taiga being built on Karura on the Kusama side. The point of today's call, or I guess chat, is to talk about liquid staking with regards to KSM staking, liquid KSM staking, which then relates to Thai KSM. That might be familiar to some people on the call, that might be foreign to some people on the call, and kind of both groups are definitely welcome here. We're going to be getting into some detail on all three of those topics, and then Terry will also be here to answer questions, as well as give you guys a live demo of using Taiga, how it works, and how everything happens in the background on Taiga. Another thing kind of related to that is incentives. So we're bootstrapping a lot of DeFi products here, and some of that involves liquidity incentives for kind of getting some of these pools and products going. So there's a couple things going on in the ecosystem that some people who are really watching the forums and watching what's going on in the background may be aware of, but many people also may not be. So Bette is probably going to kick us off with conversation around that, what we're doing with Kusama Treasury, and then how that relates to everything that we're going to talk to today around liquid staking and bootstrapping a lot of these products on Karura. So Bette, why don't you get started by just kind of getting everyone the background on what I'm talking about and what's going on and what they should be aware of.
Yeah, definitely. I guess as a context, there's a couple of news for Karura. And then obviously, later on there will be for Acala as well. So first of all, the EVM Plus Alpha has been launched on Karura. Obviously, we haven't made public announcement. We're still doing alpha testing with known parties and internally, and also close community members right now. But it's being launched, and also the first smart contract being deployed on the EVM Plus is the wormhole bridge that goes off to have a dozen or more different chains, including Ethereum, EVM chains, Polygon, and also non-EVM chains like Solana and other ecosystems. So with that as a context, the first related app that will be launched alongside with that is a stable coin swap pool, a three-way pool launch on Taiga. On the Taiga Protocol. And this will be an interesting one because it will be made up of USDT, USDC, as well as the AUSD. And then obviously the USDC will be coming from Ethereum through the wormhole bridge. And then the USDT will probably be coming from StakeMine. Now it can be natively minted or withdrawn onto the StakeMine chain. As many of you know, Acala is essentially, and in that sense, also meaning Karura, in that sense, is sort of the credit system for both Kusama and Polkadot. What it means is it actually has the ability to create stablecoin liquidity from DOT and KSM, and then send that and flow that through into the multiple parachains and applications on top of those parachains. And so it's very important. I think in the Polkadot ecosystem or Kusama alike, we are native multi-chain. So we are different from solo chains when we bootstrap ourselves. We cannot just think about Acala as a single solo chain and bootstrap the apps on top of Acala. We could do that, and we are doing it, but that is certainly not the end game. The end game will be through Acala, because we are the lowest level to create and generate liquidity into the ecosystem, and how we can actually help bootstrap the entire Polkadot multi-parachain or Kusama multi-parachain ecosystem together. So with that, then we have worked with multiple protocols and parachains, and we created this first of its kind, and also the first proposal to the Kusama treasury as a proof of concept to create this multi-chain and also multi-protocol bootstrapping proposal. So let me share my screen so I can, I guess, talk through the proposal. Right now, the proposal is up for a council vote, but we can actually share those details, I guess, in the channel, so you guys can actually read through it. And then the goal of this is obviously KSM or DOT. If you look at it really deeply, it is the utility token of the Web3, of the internet of blockchains, right? Because without it, you can't go crushing, you can't actually operate within this internet. And then it will be, when we talk about Bootstrap, we are really, see the best ways to actually drive KSM utilization and also velocity. Velocity means how KSM can actually turn into liquidity or multiplies of those liquidity that can help multiple parachains to bootstrap whatever they are built for, right? Whether they are DeFi, that's just the most obvious one, but also there are many non-DeFi chains like marketplaces, like gaming chains, metaverse chains, and things like that, and also like non-for-profit NGO chains, and how this KSM can actually turn into usable, medium of exchange or liquidity, and then can help drive utilization and adoption on this multi-chain ecosystem. And then the way that we look at it is, as Acala or Karura can offer, is we are essentially the credit lever, right? Your KSM and DOT can actually come to Acala, and then you can use the liquid staking and also the Acala dollar credit system in a very efficient way to actually create liquidity, and then pump that to other multiple parachains or protocols deploy on those parachains. And this will, I guess, certainly in a good way that drive KSM velocity, because your one KSM can create Acala dollar, but then the Acala dollar will then further on deploy into other protocols like exchanges, so that they can be traded, help facilitate, I guess, trading, liquidity, money markets, other DeFi protocols, as well as be used as a medium of exchange or payment methods on, I guess, index protocols, marketplaces, IoT chains, or real world asset chains like Centrifuge. So there's many parachains and dApps can actually, I guess, make use of this liquidity at once, right? So that then the ecosystem can then start bootstrapping itself. And then this particular proposal, though, is a very small size, so that we want to showcase as a proof of concept this type of operation will work. So then we just chose Taiga that deployed on Karura, and also the state mine as the asset chain, as the application supporting as part of this proposal. And also USDC is coming from Wormhole, so Wormhole as well. Wormhole, Taiga, and also state mine kind of made up the participants of this proposal. But the thing is, if this actually gathers enough community support and this executes well, then there's no reason why we cannot do this for many other parachains and protocols all at once to make it a huge splash. So the idea would be, if this actually works out really well, then we can include EVM chains like Moonriver, Moonbeam, A-Star, Shiden, and also parachain, application-specific parachains like HydroDex as a DEX chain, Mangata, another different DEX chain, and also like Centrifuge, like real world asset chains, and also like Engine, sort of NFT chains, and also many other that's like makes sense in this protocol, in this proposal. So you can see then we can create this sort of overarching program that helps multiple parachains that made up of the Polkadot and Kusama multi-chain ecosystem, and really probably this is probably the first time that collaboratively we come together and I guess self-bootstrap with this on-chain liquidity that helps everybody. Yeah, I won't go into like too much detail of this, and I think we can share this out to other people. And then the goal is this will be a smaller scale proof of concept, but we hope you guys, go and read it, understand it, and then be fully supportive of our initiative, mostly to kind of like drive on-chain liquidity into as many parachains and also applications on their parachains as possible through this credit lever system that we have on Acala through AUSD, so that we can actually really grow utility, grow adoption, and help with the KSM and DOT velocity and utilization within the entire multi-chain ecosystem. So yeah, so that's that, and back to you then if you've got further questions or points you want to touch on.
Yeah, I'll just kind of summarize what you just discussed, and maybe we can leave it at that. But thanks for walking through that. So basically, where we are right now is that the council is voting on this to move to a public vote, which is called a referenda. And then when it moves to a referenda, you'll probably see communications coming from Karura and Acala, and also others in the ecosystem around just going in and actually voting with your KSM. This is it may not seem like a big deal. This is actually a really big deal. We're really excited about this because this, like Bette said, this is a proof of concept to basically test out this process for something much, much bigger. A lot of people probably have heard about like Avalanche Rush, for example, which was a liquidity program sponsored by Avalanche's foundation to help provide AVAX tokens to bootstrap a lot of these DeFi protocols and pools on Avalanche, and they did a great job with that. What this is this is actually an on-chain liquidity program sponsored by the on-chain treasury of Kusama to help bootstrap the entire Kusama DeFi ecosystem. So what this looks like in this POC, or this kind of trial run, would be when Bette's referring to this credit system, what actually happens at the technical level is the KSM from the Kusama treasury will be basically issued to this initiative, and then that KSM will go over to Karura. You can use the KSM on Karura to open up a vault, and the treasury itself would essentially be minting AUSD. That's the lever there. The KSM doesn't need to be sold or sold off for anything, but instead,
and you don't want to do that in a market like this in particular.
Yeah, exactly. So you issue AUSD using the KSM of the treasury, and then that AUSD in this case can be used for specifically what this proposal was meant for, which is this 3 pool, including USDT, USDC, and AUSD on Taiga, which Terry's gonna talk about in a second. That's the proof of concept, and that's how this happens at a step-by-step process. What this will look like at a much bigger scale is what Bette was saying with all these different teams. So imagine the DOT treasury and the KSM treasury issuing millions of dollars worth of DOT and KSM to help support the only thing that really matters to Polkadot and Kusama, which is the success of the parachains and the dApps built on Polkadot and Kusama. So with that, it's the same thing as this proof of concept, but on a much, much bigger scale and across multiple parachains and multiple dApps on those parachains. So when that proposal passes, that will look like the same thing, except when the AUSD is minted using the treasury's DOT and KSM, that AUSD will then flow over to Moonbeam, flow over to Centrifuge, flow over to Astar, parachains on Polkadot and Kusama, and then into the dApps on those chains to help get activity moving and bootstrap these applications, or these application-specific parachains, maybe like Mangata, who's building a DEX, or HydraDX, who's building a DEX-focused parachain. So this is really exciting. If you can't tell, we're excited about this. This is definitely the first of its kind in the industry. which you're going to see coming from Acala and Polkadot quite a bit over the coming years. We're just looking forward to this first one coming, this proof of concept. So look out for the vote on this, and then the much bigger program is also coming down the pipe.
And then I think because this is so new, and then I think that this is quite groundbreaking. For those of you who get it, and for those of you who want to be supportive, I think number one is raise awareness of this proposal. We certainly send out some tweets and also share in our Discord and other channels, like help raise awareness and rally some support, and also encourage discussion for this as well. And then very soon this will go into a public referendum vote. So for those of you who are actually KSM holders, then come and vote for something like this for the whole ecosystem. Yeah.
Awesome. So that I think is a good transition into liquid staking kind of in general. Actually, it looks like we lost Bette temporarily. Where I wanted to transition was just generally overview of liquid staking. I can maybe chime in and help on this, Terry, if you have any comments too. Bette, maybe you want to start the discussion around just maybe like imagine for people who are new to liquid staking. We've had a lot of questions, I know, on Twitter and on Discord around just the general concept of liquid staking. So let's start with that and then work our way into Thai KSM and everything after that.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess I can start with why liquid staking in the first place. So I also want to share screen so that people have a visual, so they don't just see me talking. So I'm actually going into Kusama for the staking stuff that normally you guys can see the screen.
Yep.
Yeah. So that depends on where you actually stake your KSM. A lot of people actually stake directly on an interface like this, or they use custodial services or stake through some validator they provide. But I think a lot of people are actually staking through this. And when you stake here, obviously you are providing security onto the network, and then you are earning some inflation KSM through it, which is great, right? And of course, one of the challenge here is once your KSM is staked here, you kind of lost the opportunity to participate in any other activities that may involve KSM, right? So, for example, there's staking for LKSM, there further staking yield opportunities, trading opportunities, and maybe using LKSM in protocols like Anchor, and also used it on stable swap pools like Taiga KSM stable swap pools, provide liquidity in there and earning additional incentives, and even just have the ability maybe cash out at certain point when you want to, because every time you stake here, you kind of wait for 7 days. Well, for DOT, it's 28 days, right? So there's a number of things. One is you're kind of locked in your KSM without much liquidity at hand. And then the second thing is you are missing a lot of opportunities that may interest you at certain point. Like you kind of like, once you lock in here, you kind of have no ability to redeploy some of your portfolio KSM into different places. You may not want the whole KSM balance to be on just staking. You may want to earn staking yield while doing some other stuff, right? And then the third thing is a lot of people told me that when they stake, they have to constantly monitor the validators, because some of these commissions, they actually change in between the errors, and then it's finding it a hard time to actually optimize their commission rate. Over time, very few people actually actively monitor how the commission turns out for the validators they choose. They often have to, kind of reevaluate, the dozen validators they put their KSM onto. So that's like more of like a UX challenge. And then, the liquid staking protocol that we kind of develop, first and primary objective there is so that we can solve the problem of security and bank run, because you can imagine, proof of stake network like KSM staking, it provides 20%, roughly. Well, at least on through Karura, you get that much. But through the standards, I don't know what you're getting, maybe 15 or 17%. And that's a yield for putting your KSM at stake. However, you're probably going to get way more than that for any other DeFi protocols. Because a lot of the DeFi protocols can offer crazy yield, as you've seen in other ecosystems. Then you may run into this danger of a bank run. So the capital will actually flow to where the yield is the highest, right? So in protecting the proof of stake, then the way that we do it is to create a derivative so that you still lock your token in the staking network, but then you can use the derivatives in the DeFi protocols rather than the KSM in the DeFi protocols to prevent the bank run, right? This is mostly to do with opportunity cost. You may feel justified that we should put our KSM into staking and not to those crazy DeFi protocols. But as you know, in the capital market, the capital actually flows towards where the highest return is, right? So instead of trying to justify and advocate for it, we should, but also at the same time, we could have on-chain non-custodial way to actually encourage the right behavior, which is you can do proof of stake, providing security while doing DeFi and other sort of on-chain activities involving KSM without compromising security, but also not losing yield opportunities. This is essentially the sort of the logic for liquid staking. And then there's many ways that people offer these programs, but we mainly focus on number one is the security side of it. So we actually have a bunch of selection criteria for our validators, which I'll go into a bit more detail to ensure that the validator we select, it actually meet the criteria of really good commission, but also a good history of providing the validator service without slashing. And some of them also are institution grade to provide slash coverage. So that's number one, is like security. And number two is convenience, right? So in the liquid staking program, we provide, you almost like doing an instant swap, which I'll show you in the program in a second, that you just one click and then you can essentially stake. You don't need to go through this, choosing individual validators, right? Which may change in the next era and you didn't know, and you have to keep coming back and trying to manage those services. Unless you are, pros, then of course, then that's a different story. So we really offer this like one-click, very convenient solution for you to stake, and then also instant unstake, right? So you don't have to wait the 7 days. And it also doesn't compromise security, because what we did was we used market mechanism economically to give you the early liquidity while you pay a small fee for those who actually offer those early liquidities, right? So really what we're trying to do is a lot of this stuff, right? Really good commission rate and highest level of those security and validator service. And also instant unbounding stuff. Some of this, if you are super whales, you may be able to commission your own validator to kind of meet all those criteria, but certainly not individuals who actually go through, a normal interface and picking any of those public validators to meet those criteria. So we are essentially, in a way, democratizing I guess a whale service for individuals. So so those at a high level is what the liquid staking protocol offers. And of course, this is non-custodial. All the services are managed through XCM. So when you stake, it's actually the XCM behind the scene permissionlessly doing the staking and unstaking as you transact with the protocol. And then of course, on top of this is the liquid part of it, is there's an L token gets created once you stake your KSM. And this L token essentially gives you a tokenized format. One is represents your share in the staking pool, and second is all the accruing KSM yield is accrued into the single token, right? So there's no complicated rebalancing. It will just be this one token that you hold continue to increase in value, and then you can use it to borrow stablecoin and put it into the stable swap pools to earn good yield on it. Or you can use it to lend and borrow other type of assets on any of the money markets available. And then there's also L token like L.LKSM stable swap pools trade against other DOT and KSM derivatives or the original DOT and KSM. So and this is only just today, right? So there are quite a number of apps launching on Karura and Acala, and they're integrating with this asset as well. So once you park your asset in the L token, there's a lot more opportunity that you can explore what you want to do with it. So then shall I just show quickly how people can get to all of this stuff?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, sure. So we have like guides and stuff that we can probably also send so that people can follow the videos. And then to start off, this is the apps.karura.network. When you arrive, this is the homepage. The first thing is you need some KSM to do the staking, right? So if you're already staked, then you could unstake your KSM so that you can use the KSM. The first thing is like actually bring your KSM onto Karura. This uses XCM, so you essentially just like put in how much KSM you want to bring onto Karura, and then just hit the transfer. And then this is all handled by XCM trustlessly to bring your XCM bring your KSM across via the XCM bridge. Once you've done that, then it's very easy. Then you go to liquid staking tab. You should have some balance there. So I've got just tiny little bit there. And then all you do is just put in the number of KSM you want to stake. And then switch on the button to say stake LKSM for rewards. Right now, there's a really good program that's going on. The base reward is already 19.92% in KSM. And then there's additional reward. This is actually in stablecoin, right? This is an AUSD stablecoin. So I think in a market like this, a stablecoin is good to hold on to so that you can. And also, there's no locking for this reward as well. Usually, we do loyalty program, but for stablecoin, we have no loyalty, and then you can just like hold on to the stablecoin, and then maybe buy more KSM and do staking or do whatever you want with it. So the total combined APY right now is like 40%, and this is single side staking, so it's really good starting point if you don't know what to do elsewhere, right? So you do this and park your asset essentially on Karura, and then when their programs comes up, then you can participate. So you just like go stake, and then it will actually turn into LKSM. And then a bit of explanation here is you see there's a ratio here. Maybe I'll just use ones. So you can see this, if I put 1 KSM, you can actually get 8.7 LKSM. So the whole ratio, this ratio actually represents how many LKSM can trade KSM, right? The ratio starts with 1 to 10 on day 1. And as days goes by, as more KSM accrued, essentially, then 1 LKSM can be exchanged to more and more KSM, right? So when you unstake, this is essentially the ratio that you will get for getting your KSM back, right? So today it's at 8.7, and then tomorrow will be a smaller figure. So which means when you unstake tomorrow, hopefully not, but when you unstake at a certain point, then your LKSM can be exchanged for more KSM, because it also every one LKSM also includes the principal KSM you put in, like my case is 1, but also the additional KSM I earned from the staking, which is from this 19% APY. And then also the additional AUSD reward will be directly dripping onto your account, like this account that you use for staking directly, right? And then when you unstake here, you can actually choose to unstake, or if you don't, then you just wait for 7 days, right? 7 days and a bit. But you can also choose to unstake instantly, and then it will figure out if there's available KSM. If not, it's going to swap some for you, and then you pay a small fee for the fast redemption liquidity, right? So it doesn't compromise any of the security for Kusama, which is the most important thing there. Yeah, so that's essentially how it is. And then there's a couple of other tabs that you can use to like monitor your position, and then also here are the validators that been selected for the LKSM protocol and Karura. They're constantly rotating, right? Because based on their current commission rate and their current performance, these will be rotated, right? And then you can see we have a couple of institutional grade validators that are participating with as good rates as all the other protocols, but on top of it, they also are protected against slash. So they actually cover slash for the KSM that are on those validators. And then there are selection criteria that we have. So these are whether they've got an on-chain identity, no slashing history, and then what's their history as a validator on Polkadot and Kusama, and obviously commission rate, but we are not optimized singly only on commission rate. And also slash cover, this is only for institution providers that they could do this. And then we also now have an additional criteria that to actually include more community validators, so we have a balance of it. And then I think there's one relevant question that from the community is like, well, so how come you don't have everybody vote for this, right? And there's a good reason for not to do referenda on things like this. So you can see all the democracy, how all the democracy works is like if you have all the token holders to vote on every validator selection, it may seem democracy and a fair way to do it, but you also will end up in a very challenging situation, because if you look at this list, there are some very powerful validators that they play in the Polkadot and Kusama ecosystem, right? And you probably more obvious looking at this, how many similar organizations that they run so many, validators there. So if you use the token as the single way to vote which validator should participate, then you will end up the validators gathering as many tokens they have and voting themselves in, regardless, and not respecting these criteria, which are beneficial to individuals. Right? As an individuals, you may be compelled to think that if I have one token, I should vote for my validator. But you have to know that this is a collective effort, right? So your vote is only one out of so many. It's always the whales. Well, those validators, they might vote for themselves, and they may not respect your criteria because they just want to vote their validators into the pool, right? So then the way to counter that is to do the opposite. So the algorithm will select the validators based on these criteria, but then individuals can vote for blacklisting. Right. So if these doesn't actually cover, because a lot of things is not just on chain, these are mostly on chain criteria. So you can do it, everything algorithmically. But some of the things are not on chain. Maybe they misbehave in a certain way, or their reputation or other reasons that they should be blacklisted. Then this is where your L token can be used for voting. So we haven't implemented this part yet, right? It's relatively lower priority, and we haven't got that much demand for it. But this will be something that, I think it's reasonable to actually implement, so that we can blacklist or whitelist a certain validators that the token holders actually think is reasonable, rather than having, a referenda on selecting every single validator that may misuse of the so-called democracy, right? So yeah, I hope that kind of addressed most of the issues there. But if not, maybe then you can prompt me what else I can address.
Yeah, no, I think you covered pretty much everything. That's basically the intro to liquid staking, and also the demo was nice. So thanks for that, Betty. So I'm gonna maybe pass it over to Terry now. So now everybody has a background on kind of bigger initiatives that we're planning around treasury incentives for the whole ecosystem, and then hopefully you have a better understanding about liquid staking now. So Terry, I think if you can just maybe give us the overview of Taiga and Tapio, the problem that you guys are trying to tackle, or the multiple problems that you're trying to tackle, and then what the product looks like, and then maybe a demo would be awesome for how people can use that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Dan. Taiga Protocol on Karura about 8 weeks ago, so 2 months ago. So we did a soft launch, and we basically introduced the Taiga Protocol on Karura. Simply put, Taiga Protocol is a synthetic asset protocol. And when I mention, synthetic, right, a lot of people will immediately think of, synthetics on Ethereum or Mirror on Terra, but we're not, like, we're completely different actually. Our synthetic is basically a basket of uniform assets. So uniform assets basically means assets that are traded, very closely in value. So for example, like KSM and LKSM, these would be considered as uniform assets. And then also, DOT, LC dot, as well as L dot, these would also be considered as uniform assets. And then obviously there's stable coins. So ultimately, the problem that we're trying to address with Taiga Protocol is the liquidity fragmentation issues, because obviously Betty just spent some time to explain the value of having staking products. We also sort of, we're a big believer of that. And also we saw that, many other parachains are also going to introduce staking products. So what's going to happen is that's going to create many different iterations of the same asset. Okay, so that's going to create many different silos of liquidity. So what we're presenting is one solution on top, which is a synthetic that rolls up the different versions of the same asset. So whether it's a native asset, or whether it's a staking asset, or whether it's a clone asset, you can roll all of that into Taiga. So the first product that we've launched is actually TaiKSM on Karura. And the reason why we decided to launch TaiKSM first is to demonstrate, the value of having this synthetic. The value proposition comes in two ways. The first one is obviously, the underlying swap engine, because the synthetic asset is backed by a liquidity pool. So for TaiKSM, it's made up of KSM and LKSM. So obviously, for traders that needs to swap in between, any of these assets, they could just utilize the TaiKSM pool. And over the course of the last, 6 to 8 weeks, we've been able to demonstrate that the stable swap engine provided by Taiga actually provides, a much more efficient swap execution. And that's the part that we innovated on. So that's the first value proposition. You're able to get, a much better cost savings, less slippage. And the second value proposition is that once you generate the TaiKSM by either putting in KSM or LKSM, the TaiKSM actually retains, the underlying yield from LKSM. So for example, if let's say you're somebody that is, only looking for yield, having the TaiKSM actually allows you to maintain the underlying, 20% that LKSM provides. Okay, so that's, the first part. That's the first source of yield for TaiKSM, and then the other source is the swap fees, or the protocol fees, because I mentioned that it's backed by a stable swap pool. So that's why, there are going to be fees incurred when users are trying to get in and out of KSM and LKSM. So that's the second source of yield for Thai KSM. And then finally, the third piece is our own Thai token incentives. So with the three pieces added together, we're actually able to provide a very attractive yield on Thai KSM. And this yield right now is actually it's highest across the board, relative to any type of KSM staking products. We were actually running the numbers over the course of the last couple of weeks, and right now the numbers it's roughly the yield is roughly at 43%. And then there's also one added sort of value proposition of having Thai KSM, which is the usability part. And this is actually something that we're trying to solve for as well, because I mentioned earlier that when there are going to be multiple versions of the same assets, it makes application builders as well as parachains life a little bit difficult, because they have to decide, okay, which version do I need to support, or which version do I onboard first. With Thai KSM, because we're rolling up the different versions, you're actually able to use this one standardized version of KSM derivative across different applications, and also move across different parachains. So we also wanted to test out this usability thesis on Karura first. So that's why one of the things that we're implementing is we're going to be opening up Thai KSM as a collateral type for minting AUSD. So that sort of ties in with what Bette was mentioning just now about the credit lever that is going to power up the entire Kusama, as well as the Polkadot ecosystem. So just a very quick recap. The three main value proposition of Thai KSM is, number one is the swap efficiency. So this is mainly for traders who are handling large amounts of trades. We're able to provide them with a pretty significant cost savings. The second one is yield, okay, because Thai KSM aggregates three sources of yield, and we maintain the underlying yield from LKSM, even though it's spread out, even though it's spread thinner. However, we've been able to prove that the Thai KSM pool is able to retain at least, right now, 70% of the LKSM yield. And then the third benefit is the usability part. So right now, opening it up as a collateral type, and then we're also foreseeing, Thai KSM can be integrated into, applications as well as parachains across the entire Kusama ecosystem. So that's the first product that we've launched under Taiga Protocol. And I'll share the screen afterwards to quickly walk through how you can actually go through that process of minting Thai KSM, as well as how you can actually put it to use. And the second product that we're gearing up for right now is the 3 pool. So this is also something that Bette as well as Dan mentioned for this call. The 3 pool is a very significant milestone, I believe, for both the Acala as well as our team, because we are trying our best to help drive the adoption for AUSD. So the 3 pool, again, for those who are just tuning in, it's made up of 3 different assets. It's the AUSD, USDC, as well as USDT. So the reason why Taiga Protocol plays a very significant role in this is because, as I mentioned, Taiga Protocol is backed by a stable swap engine. Okay, so what that means is the stable coins that are coming through, we will sort of act as the liquidity engine. So whether you're a trader or an LP, we're going to be providing that swap mechanism, okay, behind this pool. And the higher efficiency that we're able to provide, that also helps the circulation of the stable coins into as well as out of the Karura ecosystem. So the 3 pool is something that we're working very closely with the Acala team to launch, and we're using sort of Karura as the first implementation platform for us to demonstrate that efficiency. Some of the questions that may come up is, are we also planning to have like a synthetic stable coin based on the 3 pool? The answer right now is no, because our effort is, we wanted to really help drive the adoption for AUSD. So what's going to happen is, on the three pool product, the main value proposition that Taiga is able to provide is around swap efficiency as well as the yield part. Okay, so what that means is swap efficiency, I kind of explained with the Taiga KSM example. With the yield part, again, it's going to roll up, two different sources. Number one is obviously the underlying swap fees. So I think everybody can agree that stable coin swap is probably one of the most heavily used as well as proven primitives in DeFi. So we're expecting quite a bit of transaction volume from there. So that means the swap fees is going to accumulate, rather, healthily. And then that's the first source of yield. And then the second source of yield is actually our own incentive. So this is the Thai token that we're going to be incentivizing, liquidity providers from contributing those stable coins. And then the third one is what Bette just mentioned, is the KSM sort of added a bonus that we're right now hoping it's going through the proposal from the KSM Treasury. So those three sources of yield adding together, we're looking to sort of present something very competitive across the entire market. So I'll pause there, and basically that's just what Taiga is about, as well as what are some of the products that we have lined up.
Perfect. Yeah, that was I think really good overview for everybody, covering like the different benefits you guys offer, why people should definitely pay attention to Thai KSM, and then how it can help them out. I don't know, Bette, do you have any comments or questions for Terry on this, or maybe we can jump into like a look. It's easy to talk about these things and for people to start understanding, but I think seeing it and then hopefully getting people the link and maybe some guides to start using it, people really start to get a feel for it. You're muted, Bette.
Yeah, I just have a couple of comments. One is like, this is shows how early we are, right? And like when you have multi-chain cross-chain solutions, one thing that you have to think about is fractionalization of your liquidity. And obviously at a Acala level, we try to bring liquidity together and then be able to offer this AUSD credit, and then that actually goes out to support the entire ecosystem. And then Taiga is really one layer on top of Acala that like actually to bring liquidity together, right? We bring the physical assets together, but Taiga is really synthesize it into one liquidity pool, so that better actually serve everybody. So ultimately, like the Thai KSM or the T dot on the Polkadot side, they will become a better, I guess, collaterals and also an asset to hold on to, because you could easily get out of it if you actually need the actual dot for some things, right? But if T dot actually becomes this dominating assets with good liquidity, not only you can trade, not only you can use it as a collateral and any other DeFi protocols, but probably also be listed on exchanges, and you can just like exit using T dot directly. So this all is actually serving a multi-chain ecosystem, right? Because but we're only just at the beginning of it. So I appreciate everyone who's listening and trying to learn and grasp of this all together with us. So yeah, it will be good to actually see some protocol in action, Terry.
Yeah.
You can show people how.
Yeah.
Maybe you can continue on from my demo. Like now you are a LKSM holder, right? What do you do next?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
And
So let me share my
I just
screen.
want to add one thing too, around like these different types of assets. So one thing I think Terry and his team have done a great job on is kind of predicting the future a little bit as far as what was going to come on Kusama and what's happening on Polkadot. But we're starting to see multiple different staking protocols for these different assets. So for dApp teams and for parachain teams, it will become difficult to integrate with every single type of A dot, B dot, C dot, E dot, F dot. But with Tapio on the Acala side, and then with Taiga that Terry's going to show you now. It's a way of aggregating all those different types of KSM in this case into one single asset called Tai KSM. And then you can, as we're going to integrate on the AUSD minting side, then we can just take this one asset Tai KSM and use that as a collateral for minting AUSD. But as you know, as Terry just explained, that Tai KSM underneath is multiple types of KSM behind the scenes. So it just makes it a lot easier for users and for developers. So go ahead, Terry.
Great, thanks, Dan. Okay, so just picking up, where Bette kind of left off. Okay, you kind of staked your KSM, and now you have LKSM. So right now, the entire Taiga protocol is integrated into the Karura D app. This was a business decision, made on purpose because we wanted to really help demonstrate the efficiency. Okay, because as Bette mentioned, like we're just that direct layer on top of Karura. So how do you experience Taiga? It's actually it's quite hidden right now, but I think we're working on making that more visible. So after you have LKSM in your wallet, one of the first things that you can do, or let's say if you don't have LKSM, you can come into the swap function screen, and then you can actually exchange for LKSM. So if let's say you wanted to exchange LKSM for LKSM, you can just do a swap function here. So one thing to take a note here is under the powered by. Okay, so there's actually two options for users to choose from. The default option right now is set to Karura, but you can also change it over to Taiga. Okay, so this is where the stable swap is going to kick in. And this is what I mean by, if let's say traders are looking to move in and out between the KSM and LKSM asset, I would strongly recommend you guys to sort of compare the rates, because we've been able to sort of demonstrate we're
I think better still, Terry, we should make it automatic so that the app actually automatically compared a better rate and then recommend people which route or pool to go to, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's
and then but obviously they can choose to go to a worse one just because, but then the program can do it automatically for them.
Yeah, we're working on that routing, but yeah, ultimately we're able to sort of provide traders with that better swap execution, and
hopefully the original pool will gradually be vampired to the Taiga pool, right? Because you guys are offering a really good program, and you are specialized in stable trading, which is a lot more efficient in terms of slippage, etc. And then we are very happily being vampire attacked, and then moving the KSM and LKSM liquidity over to the Taiga pool. It's good for the traders, good for the liquidity providers, for more incentive, and also better fees over there. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the goal. To migrate the existing LKSM liquidity to the Thai KSM pool. So this is one function. Okay, this is one function that traders can definitely benefit. It's a swap function. The second one is to actually mint Thai KSM, because we've been receiving some questions from our community, asking what do you mean by mint? Like, how do you actually mint? So to explain, the minting process is actually, just the same as adding liquidity. Okay, adding liquidity to the Thai KSM pool. So you can see here from the dropdown, there's the KSM and LKSM pool, which is powered by Taiga. So this pool actually supports single-sided as well as dual-sided staking. So if let's say you only have KSM, you don't want to bother with exchanging into LKSM, that's fine. You can contribute KSM, or you can just contribute both sides. So once you add liquidity, that's going to give you Thai KSM in return. Okay, so instead of just returning an LP token, you're actually going to get Thai KSM. Okay, so that's what we call the minting process. And then once you have Thai KSM, what you can do with it is you can put it into collateral staking. So in the Earn tab, under collateral staking, you can see we have TaiKSM as an option, and basically you can just stake it. So right now I don't have any TaiKSM. I'm not going to go through the process of submitting the transaction just to save time, but this is how you can actually stake TaiKSM into collateral staking, and that's going to yield those three sources of yield, which I'm going to explain how we're getting to this 43% shortly. And right now you can see the liquidity pool for TaiKSM in the staked product is roughly only around 400K, still very little. However, what I wanted to stress is that even with this little liquidity pool, we're still able to provide a better swap experience. So you guys can imagine if, let's say, the TaiKSM pool grows, what type of execution experience that you guys are able to benefit from. The reason why it's in the collateral staking tab for TaiKSM is because I mentioned we're working on opening up TaiKSM as a collateral type to borrow AUSD. So what that means is once you have staked your TaiKSM here, you can then flow through to the Mint AUSD tab. And then you should be able to find TaiKSM as one of the collateral types, and then you can create a vault based on TaiKSM. So that's sort of the complete workflow from swap to adding liquidity to staking, and then to the minting of AUSD. That's the end-to-end workflow of how Taiga Protocol.
So if you're currently a Karura swap LP for KSM and LKSM, how do you move your liquidity over?
Yeah.
Or is there a way to do it?
Yep, great question. So we actually created a bootstrap function for users that are currently providing KSM and LKSM liquidity to Karura to move it over. So under swap in bootstrap tab, so it's a three-step process. First, you remove liquidity from the Karura side, and then the second step is you contribute liquidity to TaiKSM pool, which is going to yield, which is going to return you with the TaiKSM, and then the third part is you can stake it. You can stake the LKSM into, you can stake the TaiKSM into collateral staking. So
right. So if you do this, then you are getting that 43%
yes,
of reward. Yeah. And then can you explain just a little bit on step 2, the difference between, because you can actually just add one side. Yeah. You can just add KSM if that's what you've got. You don't want to click another button to get LKSM. You can also just add KSM single side, or if you can do a balance. Can you just explain whether there's any difference in terms of adding one side or both sides, what people should be considering when they're choosing these different options?
Yeah, so I mean, it's completely up to you. Right now, the pool composition for TaiKSM is still, LKSM heavy. So right now in this pool, in the TaiKSM pool, there's close to 70% composed of LKSM. So what that means is, if TaiKSM is heavily, is heavily made up of LKSM, that means TaiKSM is able to retain more of the yield from LKSM. Okay, so let me give you guys an example. If, let's say, the pool, if the TaiKSM pool is constructed as 50-50, okay, 50% KSM and 50% TaiKSM, what that means is the underlying LKSM yield is we're only going to be able to get roughly 50% of the LKSM yield, which is 20%, to flow through to the TaiKSM side. Okay, but if, let's say, the pool is made up of 70% LKSM and 30% KSM, then 70% of the 20% is able to flow through to the TaiKSM side. So when you are considering, which one to contribute, right? Obviously, the sensible type of option to do is to first mint LKSM and then use that to mint TaiKSM, because that actually allows, TaiKSM holders to and to roll up, more yield from the underlying. But then, if you guys are just lazy and doesn't want to do that extra swap transaction or extra minting, extra staking process, then obviously you guys can also do it with KSM as well. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So let's shift gear a little bit, because when we're promoting, one thing is I do want to mention is right now this 43% is based on retroactive usage. So because I mentioned we've been live for around 2 months, and basically we've been just tracking the pool composition as well as how the yields are currently being rolled up. We're actually pretty happy with the results so far, because 70% of the pool is made up of LKSM, meaning that we're able to maintain majority of the yield. That's actually what we wanted as the outcome. But one of the first questions that we get was, is this yield sustainable? And I'm gonna walk you guys through on how we're getting to this 43%. So, and this is an article that we published recently to explain the benefits of TaiKSM. It's called TaiKSM Triple Threat. For all the sports player out there, I think you guys can agree that triple threat is a very versatile position when it comes to trying to score a basketball or something. So again, right, with TaiKSM, that's the type of value proposition that we're providing to all the KSM holders. It's versatility, and actually, there are three different ways, right? So I mentioned earlier on the call, it's the first is maximize the yield, the second is enhance the usability, and then the third one is to really drive like swap efficiency. So this is why we call it like triple threat of TaiKSM. But moving into the yield, like breaking apart the yield, the 43%. So how are the yields, sustainable? So again, right, the first component, the first source of yield is from the underlying LKSM. So this is an internal dashboard that we built to track the composition of TaiKSM. And right now you can see that 30% is made up of KSM, and then the remaining 70% roughly is made up of 67.8 is made up of LKSM. So this source of yield, what that means is that we take this 67% and then we multiply it by the 20% underlying LKSM yield, and that gets us roughly 13% just from the underlying. The second source of yield is from the protocol fees. So right now the swap pool is taking in 0.25% for swaps, and then 0.3% for redemptions. Okay, so over the last 2 months, what we did was we aggregated the protocol fees and we divided that by the protocol TVL, the TaiKSM TVL, and then multiply that by 365 days annualized to get the APR. So from a historical basis, that comes to roughly 7.6%. So that's the second source of yield. And then the third source of yield is our own incentive program. So we're actually incentivizing use LPs with the TAI token. So right now we are scheduled for. So right now, because TaiKSM, the TVL is still under 1 million, so we're distributing approximately 4,000 TAI per day. Okay, so close to 30,000 per week. So 4,000 TAI tokens per day. We basically back out the calculation. And that takes us to roughly 25%. So the number is probably has dropped a little bit because of the recent market volatility. But basically, adding these three sources together is getting us to close to for like the 40% range. Okay, so this is how the yield for TaiKSM is being composed. And yeah, I'll stop there to see whether anybody has any questions.
Yeah, no questions on my end, Betty.
No, I think just folks just need to get their sleeve up and move their KSM onto Karura. And then there's a whole bunch of opportunities that you can explore, right? You can certainly park your token in LKSM to start with, and then learn and figure out all these other programs. The cool thing about this is like for these type of staking, the single side, like the collateral LKSM staking, the TaiKSM staking, the single side staking. So it's kind of like providing you a easy entrance into getting familiar with the token, or if you just want to do Kusama staking, you can still park it at LKSM and then join the community in Discord and then asking questions and then learn about risks and what you have to watch out for, and then jump into the programs. So yeah, and then just reiterate, like when you participate into KSM staking, obviously the rewards will be in KSM, and then for the LKSM stuff, you get AUST stablecoin, and then for the Thai KSM, you get Thai token. So all of a sudden, you get exposed to sort of multiple tokens, and then Karura ecosystem is continue growing. Our EVM plus beta, which is open to external contract deploying, limited external contract deploying very soon. So you're gonna get other projects launching on Karura, and also very soon will be like public permissionless deployment. That also means opportunities for LKSM to be integrated into other protocols on Karura. And then same for TaiKSM, I think that will be multiple integration opportunities there. So I guess the message to people is like, if you're a KSM holder, then we're at a very early stage to kind of ramp up this. So the staking service on Karura has been running for the past 10 months. And then it's gone through market up and downs. It's been used as collaterals for AUSD stablecoin. The market has gone down, up and down multiple times, and especially like this week is a dramatic fall. And then the protocol has held up really well. It's the liquidation has gone really smoothly, and the way that we chose the stablecoin mechanism over collateralization is actually a downturn market proof mechanism. The more liquidation, the bigger the downturn. The protocol actually holds up stronger. That's the way the over collateralization works, and it's been proven. So those has been going on really well, and then the network has been running for a year now, quite stable. No major issues. Been through multiple upgrades. Now it's and also now we have more institution participants sign up as validators. Current.com has been running nodes, validators, and also participating in liquid staking, and also other integrations as well, mostly because security level is high, stability is great, and we feel comfortable to ramp up. And that's why the incentive programs, getting a Taiga Protocol to also collectively to support the growth of the protocol. So so it's that's why all of these things come together at this point. So yeah, and then you got other questions or things you want to go into a bit more details, or we've had enough?
Yeah, exactly. So I just wanted to, I'll wrap it up. So I think first, thanks Terry for the overview of TaiKSM and Taiga. Hopefully everybody has seen kind of the progression even of today from just basically what is liquid staking, all the way to Betty showing you how liquid staking actually works, and then Terry explaining TaiKSM. He explained all the benefits of using TaiKSM. There's multiple benefits for users, for usability, and then there's all the benefits that I kind of touched on a little bit ago around developers, application developers, as well as parachain developers on Polkadot and Kusama, benefiting from these synthetic protocols that Terry and his team are building. Another thing I just wanted to mention, so we kind of walked through liquid staking for KSM and TaiKSM on Karura. you may have seen other tweets from Acala recently around unstaking your DOT and preparing for Liquid DOT going live. I guess we can't give any dates quite yet, but I'll just say that it's happening very, very soon for Liquid DOT staking. And this will also lead into Terry's other product. Terry and his team are building on Acala on the Polkadot side. This is around Liquid DOT staking. So everything that we just talked about around Liquid KSM and Taiga also applies on the DOT side. And this is going to get going really soon too. So for people listening, if you're a KSM person, you're most likely also either holding DOT or interested in DOT. So I know I've already done this and several other people have. It's time to unstake your DOT from Polkadot and prepare to move that over to Acala. L-DOT staking is coming. This will allow you to do everything that you can with Liquid KSM. So instant unstaking, having access to a liquid token that you can then use for other things, including putting into the T-Dot protocol with Terry's team, and many other things, of course. So that's one thing. Time to unstake your DOT and get ready to move that over to Acala. And then, yeah, just thanks to Terry. The team, Terry and his team have been, I know for a long time, Bette and Brian and all the developers have been working with them on the technical side, which I don't fully understand all of that behind the scenes, but I know the team has been really impressed by Terry and everyone on your team. So thanks for the great kind of partnership and effort over there. Definitely going to be, I think, plenty more coming from you guys. So excited to keep building alongside you guys. And just kind of cool today, just sitting here talking with you guys around these new products and everything that we're excited to start launching, despite all the kind of noise in the world right now, especially in the industry. I think this is kind of proof of what we're all focused on, which is building great products and keeping our heads down and building. So kind of a great testament to you guys, Bette and Terry on the call for just your focus and kind of long-term vision.
And for people who want to take action, bring their KSM to Karura and then do LKSM and TaiKSM, how do we share those information to people? Do we just post it onto the channel and tweet it? Then is it the best way so people can follow it?
Yeah, so we'll tweet this with a follow-up and can add some links. And then this video will also live on YouTube. So under the video, we'll add links to everyone, to guides and how to use everything. Also links to Terry, your Discord, so people can go and ask questions if they have them. So people should be all set.
Great.
Awesome. And also sign up to the L-Dot launch in 2 days.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining. Hopefully you learned something new. Thanks, Bette and Terry, for the